This right here is a hot mess. I want to know who is responsible for letting Betty LaVette be in charge of the teenagers. Who the hell was the dummy that did that? Hold tight. This is my final day back home. I head home tomorrow morning, which is Wednesday morning. I miss my dog. But at any rate, hello love bugs, hello Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, tell a friend, share to Facebook, hit the notification button for all, and visit uptopbeauty.com. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube for all the shenanigans, including my vegan journey. Y'all see I have my Dunkin' Donuts. This is what I'm getting now. Can you guys see that? I hope it comes out right, but it's 2 sugars and 2 shots of almond milk. Half decaf, half regular. So go on over there and join if you want to join us in our vegan journey. Also, I put a couple of videos over there and pictures over there of me enjoying my time back home. Yeah, some of it's on Instagram. My barber / ex-girlfriend, she's over there on the Patreon, and here with the YouTube membership. Anyway, child, I'm kind of out of it, but I'll get into it because we have to wrap up. I think we got about 2 or 3 more videos of Miss Betty LaVette. A woman like me. Robert Hodge proved to be one of the best friends I'd ever have. Seems like you need to be playing bigger places than this, he said. The reality is I'm lucky to have this gig. Robert Hodge, bless his heart, was my financier through the 90s. Another man helped, though to a far lesser degree. His name was Ian Levine, and he showed up in Detroit sometime in the late 80s. He was an Englishman, an important fact that because without the support of English fans, I might have disappeared entirely. When I first met him, he said that he had come to Detroit to take up where Berry Gordy left off. Now, we know him from the Mary Wells book, where we learned that basically this guy had gathered up all the Motown stars that Berry Gordy shizzed on or were no longer with Berry Gordy, okay? And he came up with this idea to just revamp all of the old Motown acts' career. It didn't go well, okay? But I applaud his effort, and so did Betty LaVette. 20 years after Berry Gordy left his hometown, Ian Levine came from London to undo the damage. How can you not love a guy who has hatched this kind of crazy scheme? To understand where he was coming from, I had to understand the strange culture of the British movement called Northern Soul. The Northern Soul nuts are hardcore R&B fans who respond to the funkier side of Motown. He and other British writers like David Nathan never tired of singing my praises even when the rest of the world didn't give a fuck. Ian Levine was a product of this Northern Soul phenomenon. In addition to salvaging unheralded singers like me, Northern Soul celebrated both pre and post disco grooves, giving them a highly synthesized electric buzz. When Levine arrived in Detroit, he had this kind of combination in mind. I'm hardly a purist, so it didn't bother me that he was using disco dance beats. months. Unlike most bullshit producers, Ian also came with cash in hand. He paid up front. He probably paid many of the old-time Motowners more than Berry Gordy ever had. He rounded up everyone, all the leftovers: Bobby Taylor, Marv Johnson, Kim Weston, Dennis Edwards, Eddie Kendricks, Brenda Holloway, the Contours, the Four Tops, the Marvelettes, the Velvets, even some Supremes, minus, of course, Miss Ross. Some of the Motowners complained to Ian that I should not be included in his project. I was not an original Motowner, but Ian had championed me, as had many of the Northern Soul guys, and argued that Tell Me a Lie, my lone Motown album, legitimized me. Since Ian was paying, Ian got his way. And so did you, Miss Betty LaVette. You demon! Your hustle never stops. When it does, you're either comatose or dead. Ian Levine helped my hustle. He was someone who had enough faith in me to let me record a whole album. No matter how bizarre or unsuccessful his efforts to revitalize the Detroit music scene were, his intentions were noble. I agree. The dude, Ian, he needs more recognition than he has gotten. It sounds ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But I was in Detroit, trapped in Detroit, jobless in Detroit, homebound in Detroit. And I needed to do something to stave off boredom, not to mention insanity. For all my wild days and nights, I never let my appearance deteriorate, not for a minute. I hated to see this generation of young girls be so indifferent about their looks. When I stepped out into the world, I did so with confidence because my speech, dress, posture, and whole demeanor were those of a proud woman. I knew that Northern High, that's her old high school, had a summer program. I also knew some of the people who ran it. This right here is a hot mess because I want to know who is responsible for letting Betty LaVette be in charge of a group of teenagers. Who the hell was the dummy that did that? They remembered me from my days at the Greystone Ballroom and the 20 grand. I spoke to one about letting me run a mentoring program for young girls. And just like that, I was hired. That meant weekly paycheck from the city, as well as a chance to teach something I felt strongly about: good grooming. On the first day of class, I was filled with enthusiasm and righteous purpose. Beware that word righteous. I arrived in the gym where a dozen girls were waiting for me. One of them was seated on a stool. She was slouched down over her boyfriend, who had his head between her legs. She was braiding his hair, scratching off his dandruff, and acting like this was the most natural thing in the world. I came here today, I said, to talk about what it means to be demure. Do you have any idea what that means? The girl doing the braiding didn't even look up. I'm talking to you, I said. What does demure mean? Got no idea. Betty LaVette is going to teach somebody about being demure? Okay. I was supposed that demure would mean, I know it's being ladylike, but being ladylike is also like not giving your vagina to whoever wants to have it. I would think that would be demure also, or included in demure. Well, it's certainly not what you're doing now. Do you have any idea how awful you look? You're braiding his hair while your own hair looks like it got caught up in a blender. Okay, that's called game. Demure and game is the same thing. That's called game. Like what your aunties teach you, game. What your mama teach you, game. Look what Marie Early taught you, Miss Betty. Game. Still no answer. Finally, I walked over, looked her in her eye, and said, "You look like a slovenly bitch." See what I'm saying? Who the hell gave this lady the okay to be in charge of little girls? What? And then all it would take is for my daughter to come home and tell me that Miss Betty Levette called me a bitch, and it'd be on and popping. Next day, Next day, her mother came to school and said, "Did you call my daughter a slovenly bitch?" Those were my exact words. Chill out, Miss Betty. You know you can't fight. Those were my exact words. You got no right to say that. I looked at her mother and was about to say, "You're even more of a slovenly bitch than she is." But I held my tongue. Instead, I said, "We all have the right to tell the truth, but not to call my daughter a bitch." You hurt her feelings. If that's what it takes to get her to face reality, I'm glad. "With that mouth of yours," said the mother, "you shouldn't be teaching here." Word. I'm not a teacher. I'm a rhythm and blues singer trying to help these girls. You sure about that? Okay. I've been all over the world, and if they listen to me, they just might learn something. I would be like, "But you're here. You still don't got no business being here." The mother was right, even if it took me another month to admit it. Oh no, the principal should have intervened in all of this. It's so loud out here. My bad, y'all. As a teacher, I tried, but got nowhere. When you're waiting for a bus, I told the girls, and you got a cigarette dangling out of your mouth, and you're chewing gum like a cow, and you're wearing short shorts, riding up the crack of your ass, what do you think you look like? "Who cares?" said one of the girls. "What business is it of yours?" asked another. These girls were impossible. Nothing I said made even the slightest impression. Every night I'd call up Robert Hodge, then my main man, and say, "Why am I fooling with these bitches when they couldn't care less about how they look?" Well, let me say this. I believe that the class is very much so needed, okay? Because some people just don't know. Throughout life, I've met several different kinds of people. And some of those people I met didn't know some of the smallest things because they were never exposed to other things outside of what they know. These girls were impossible. Nothing I said made even the slightest impression. Every night I'd call up Robert Hodge, then my main man, and say, "Why am I fooling with these bitches when they couldn't care less about how they look?" Good question. What's the answer? I got nothing else to do. You say that you love